to upcycle this beautiful hand-embroidered tablecloth. I'm almost sad to cut it because I've been saving it for such a long time, and I think it's perfect for the doll in question. You can obviously use simple, not simple, but like you don't have to use upcycled fabric. I am just going to walk you through fussy cutting your pattern so that you center designs for certain details. This is a bodice that includes the front and the back, so this is the center front. And if, for example, I wanted to use this design, this beautiful cut work, then I would try to center it in the way that it looks the best. Or if I want to use, for example, this rose, I could center it this way, or I could center it this way, right? You just gotta find the design. If you're repurposing a piece of tablecloth like I am, or if you want to use a different fabric that has a pretty design. For example, if I wanted to use something like this and I wanted a rose to be dead center, I would pick that one and then I would place it here. So this is going to be the center front. You want this to be on grain, and this is obviously going to be on the bias. In my case, my design is on the bias, right? So I have to be really careful to center it. I'm using a heat iron pen, and I am going to draw a seam allowance, okay? dress, I did a row of top stitching to keep the seam allowance going towards the bodice, and then I've sewn the skirt to the bodice without sewing the lining. Now I am going to cut all the threads, make a small fold, and enclose the raw seams, enclose the raw seam on the skirt so that you don't see all the mess from the edges. And then it's pretty much done, other than snaps and whatever decoration that you want to add. I finished the back, as you can see here, and I added a little bit of crochet lace. I attached it by hand. First I shaped it with the iron like this, and then I sewed it. And just to finish off, I did my fancy pretty prick stitching with not white thread, but a little bit like beige thread, so that it just pops up a little bit out of the white of the dress. And as you can see, there's no visible stitching attaching the color. And so this is the finished dress. All it needs is snaps and it's ready to go. Correct all the movements, right? I can tell you, oh, that's too much wool. Whereas when with the online class,
it's different.
Yeah, you're doing everything on your own, and I'm not there until after. And then it's also important to, like, every now and then take little breaks on your wrists.
Oh yeah.
hot,
Yes.
right?
It's nice.
Warm, but
No,
not hot.
nice.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Where's that, Luna?